Hello, welcome to DRC's first podcast, and I am Maxwell Lyman, aka Crypto Jesus, and I'm going to start the first podcast off as an introduction video to DRC, the community, and what DRC is about. So, this is DRC's home website, the digital reserve currency, drcglobal.org, and on this site you can kind of see the general structure of the organization. And DRC is a DAO. It's completely decentralized. 100% of the circulation was initially released onto Uniswap. And if you go through the site here, I suggest you take the time to watch this video. It's a really good, slightly more advanced introductory video to DRC, but it's great on explaining the DRC ecosystem, and it'll give you a good little introduction to the vaults. DRC was founded by Maxim Nurov, and he runs a financial company that specializes in the digital assets market, and Maxim is very well connected in the financial assets world and has been a great advisor to the DRC community, but is now removed from the ecosystem. Although he is still an advisor and we are still in close communication with him, he does not make official calls. So if you go to the website drcglobal.org and you go through and click, you can see DRC is a fully functioning, viable product. So DRC was originally created to be a store of value. So if you look here, we have our two original vaults, DR Vault S1 and DR Vault S2. S1 is more of an appreciation-based vault, but it's still a store of value because it's centered around Bitcoin, Ethereum, and also wrapped gold. So a lot of people view Bitcoin itself as a store of value, and it is. There's only 21 million Bitcoin, and actually there's less than that if you take into account the supply of Bitcoin that's been lost, which is about 3 million Bitcoin for the remainder of time. And that doesn't even include Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin holdings. God only knows if he's still alive. But here you can see our asset allocation. It's 40% Bitcoin, which is a digital store of value, the original digital store of value, which is not really a steady asset value if you compare it to the value of US dollars. But Bitcoin has steadily appreciated since 2009, as we all know. And although it's been more or less volatile compared to the US dollar, one Bitcoin has always been one Bitcoin. And a lot of people who are in the cryptocurrency market to begin with have strong faith in Bitcoin. And those who don't have strong faith in Bitcoin tend to lean a little further away from the store of value side, or don't really see it as a proper store of value, can go over here and look at our second vault S2. Here, this vault is definitely a proper store of value if you're looking at a store in value in terms of your assets staying the same value. So the problem with the world right now is inflation is crazier than it ever has been thanks to the pandemic. And if you look at the US dollar, which inflates at an average rate of 2% a year, this year alone, it's inflated over 4.5%, according to the Fed. Now, the United States has it pretty lucky compared to the rest of the world, and a lot of people are much less fortunate than those that live in the US. And a lot of countries with millions and millions of people have seen inflation rates of over 90%. If you look at Nigeria, which is a great example where over 200 million people live there, they've seen an inflation rate of 71% since 2008. Now, it's hard for a lot of us to try to even imagine losing 71% of the value of your own currency, or of all your value, in a few years, but it happens. And it happens to billions of people around the world, either that experience crazy corruption, inflation, or some mix of the two. If you look at Zimbabwe, their currency inflated in value by over 98%. It lost 98% of its value in a few years, which is crazy to even think about in the first place. And this affects billions of people. It's not just countries in Africa. Don't get me wrong, it's mainly Africa, the Middle East, parts of Asia, and South America, but that's over half of the world. So if you look at S2 right here, you can see that 90% of the vault's allocation is in US dollar coin. Now, that's important because the US dollar, although not the best store of value in the world, is the world's most recognized currency. It's the currency for the world. It's the most accepted currency in the world. And that's why it inflates at although it inflates at an average rate of 2% a year. That's not a lot compared to most other currencies out there. So we keep the allocation at 90% US dollar coin just to provide a stable asset, one that doesn't see any volatility relative to cryptocurrency or any other assets. And then we do another 5% Pax Gold. And the reason we do another 5% Pax Gold is because gold is an asset that is steadily appreciated in value for, well, just about all of human history. And it will continue to steadily appreciate in value until it's seen as less of a store of value than another asset that could potentially replace it, like Bitcoin. So we have another percent wrap Bitcoin. So if you take a look at our vault allocations, we ran all the numbers, and we're doing an average of 0.3% a month on top of the value in US dollars of this vault allocation. So if you were to put $10,000 in S2 a month ago, you'd have $10,300 about. And if you do the math, that beats the rate of inflation in the United States with the US dollar every year to create a true store of value. It's beating the rate, and it's very, very stable, very, very reliable, very low risk, very low volatility. I mean, it's only 5% Bitcoin, and the rest, another 5% gold and 90% US dollars. So obviously you're not going to have people in the real world can't go around, buying gold and using that as a form of payment, especially to people in these countries that we mentioned, billions of people all over the world that barely have access to global markets in the first place. So it's important to keep these asset allocations in mind. And it creates a true store of value, because as the US keeps printing more and more money, inflation gets worse and worse. And the reality of it is, it's not helping the little guy for the country to print more money. It's really just helping the big guy, because the wealth gap gets larger and larger as more and more money is printed, because it inflates further. Hell, an extra 2.5% inflation is a lot. That's a 2.5% devalue, an extra 2.5% devalue in your own currency. 4.5%. You lost 4.5% of the value of all the dollars you held this year, US dollars. Now, to the average person that has to use their paycheck every month to pay their rent, feed their family, and pay their utilities, they don't have a lot of extra money to go and purchase all these fancy assets like a lot of people with more capital have, who can put their money into real estate that appreciates against the value of inflation, or any other assets like stocks, for example. And the problem is, the average person can't afford to do that, especially over the world, not even in just America. And that's why S2 is really, really important to us, and it's a great asset allocation and a great working viable product for the digital reserve. It's a true store of value. You can have your everyday little guy launch our application, deposit money into the S2 vault, and have their money sit there instead of a bank, and have it appreciate against the rate of inflation. So they aren't losing any money. They're making a slight return against the rate of inflation, and it's extremely stable. And it's what people need, because you can't have people that go around, take slivers of gold and use that as payment, let alone people that are going around to buy gold in the first place. It's just not commonplace. Although it's currently on the Ethereum blockchain, we're also opening up Polygon-based vaults, which will be soon to come. The development's on the way, and we're currently working on a lot of other things, but it's not too far over the horizon. Now, S1 is more geared towards the true crypto believers that see Bitcoin as a store of value, but also want a slight hedge against Bitcoin. So, Ethereum, for example, has done much better than Bitcoin in the past few months in terms of percent appreciation. So the S1 vault has a fairly good allocation base, 40% gold as a store of value hedge against Bitcoin, 40% Bitcoin, and 20% wrapped Ethereum. Now, Ethereum is kind of like the US dollar of the cryptocurrency world. It is like the dollar of cryptocurrency. Bitcoin obviously isn't used like Ethereum is because of slow transaction speeds and all these other problems it has. The average Bitcoin transaction takes at least 30 minutes. Fees aren't that great, and it can't handle anywhere near the network as Ethereum or other blockchains are able to. So those are the two main vaults we have here. These are our true store of values. Now, we've started to branch out from our store of values to open alternate asset vaults. And this is almost like a decentralized hedge fund, where you have these vaults that are voted in by the community. None of these assets, we're completely decentralized. So none of these assets are picked without a majority vote from the community members, which is held in snapshot. So if you look here, we have in our S3 vault a little riskier allocation base, and it's between Farm, MPH, and Wrapped Ethereum. The Wrapped Ethereum is used in part to help lower the gas fees of MPH and Farm, and it's also an asset that appreciates in its own. And Farm and MPH are self-staking and APY rewarding tokens, and feel free to come on the site and click this information button here so you can read more about this asset allocation if you wish. But our S4 vault has been paused for the moment because of ongoing developments, including problems with our Uniswap v3 migration, which is not really a problem. It's more just because there isn't a lot of liquidity on v3 yet, because v3 is pretty new, and a lot of other cryptocurrencies are waiting for there to be more liquidity on v3 before they migrate. So our assets and our vaults are still based largely on v2. We do have some pools open on v3. If you come over here and look at our allocations, you can see right here, Uniswap v3 is our largest address holder right now, then v2, and then the Matic Network Bridge for Polygon and all these Polygon vaults soon to come. You can buy DRC on Polygon, you can buy it on v3 and v2. Now if you go back and look at the digital reserve here, you can see DRC is a true store of value. And our next vault coming up is going to be the DRC Vault. Now this vault is held as a way to incentivize hodling. We want people to hold on to DRC for dear life. And we have a lot of really true believers in DRC and a very strong community. And this vault, all you do is deposit DRC into the vault, and it'll give more or less a ranking system. It's like our own version of Etherscan, and you'll be able to see a rank system of who has the most DRC in the vault and their percent held and all these fun things. And we're going to turn it into a whole leaderboard system. And in exchange for holding at least 10,000 or at least 50,000 DRC in the vault for at least a 1 month period, we're going to do rare NFT raffles. So if you come over here and look at my OpenSea account, we're going to start giving away some of these NFTs randomly to incentivize hodling during hard times. But it's great too because it creates this whole liquidity based system and incentivizes people to go back and forth, because if you have money in your DRC vault, you can then transfer into another vault, back to S1 or S2 and back and forth between there, or S3 and then soon S4, which will be more of an asset appreciation vault. You know, although S1 and S2 are definitely a store of value, S3 is more of an investment-based vault, and S4 will also be more of an investment-based vault bit, and it's all backed by research from the community, which you can see in the community Discord. If you take a look over here, so in the community Discord, if you go to S4 proposals, you can see every single asset that's been proposed. Here we have, we've got about 8 assets proposed so far. I've done about 3 of them, but we'd really appreciate to get more asset proposals from the community. As soon as we finish developing the DRC Vault, we'll shift towards S4 if once everything's calmed down and we start seeing more liquidity on V3. But if you come back here and look at my OpenSea account, some of these NFTs in my account I'll be donating to the DRC multi-sig wallet, so it'll be safe and secure. You don't have to worry about a thing. But I've got a hash mask here, I've got a bonsai, I've got some really rare NFT art. These are all AI-based portraits. They're all liquids created by 2 of the world's most advanced AIs. And I've got all these stills, living Hannibal. But yeah, so do your best to try and get involved in the DRC community. It's a very tight-knit community. As you can see here, we've got over 2,000 members in our Telegram. I'd like to invite you to join. So if you go look at the comments section in my YouTube page, you'll be able to see the invite link to our Telegram and our Discord. And we're hosting an Ask Me Anything on Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So feel free to join to ask any questions about DRC. We want to make sure that all of our users and holders have a good understanding of what DRC really is and why it has value. And honestly, we don't want people to purchase DRC unless they really understand these things. A huge part about the community is community belief. And well, if you don't believe in something, you shouldn't invest in it, in my opinion. And thankfully, DRC is something I have a lot of faith in and truly believe in. And that's because I really understand the product. And we have amazing developers that are working 24/7 to always improve the DRC fundamentals and community, and are currently working on the DRC Vault I explained in this video. But yeah, I'd just like to mention all of our core contributors. Maxime, our main advisor, for always being there to help us. And we're also very close to hammering out our deal with a centralized exchange, which will be great news for the community. We'll let the community know exactly which exchange it is as soon as everything's finalized in writing. We don't have the liberty to divulge what the exchange is until we come to a final agreement. Well, thank you all for listening to our first podcast episode. I know it was a little rough, but yeah, thank you for coming, and I'll see you here next time.